27 years.
What's going on, moviegoers? If you're new to the channel, my name is Christian and welcome to Zero Productions. You guys just got back from my 7 o'clock showing in IMAX of It Chapter 2. This is going to be my spoiler review for the film. So if you haven't seen the movie, go see it and come back to See Real and get my thoughts and opinions on this film. Now, It Chapter 1 came out about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Loved it. Thought the kids were fantastic. I loved every aspect of that film. And when they announced Chapter 2, I was even more excited because I was like, oh my God, we get to see the adult version. Everybody's returning 27 years later after that crazy ass event in Derry, right? What can I say? This film definitely exceeded my expectations. Now, if you remember the original adult version of it back in the 80s, it wasn't the greatest. We can all agree. Whenever I go back and watch that, I legit watch just the kid version. I can't, like, something about the adult version is just, it's boring to me. But this film, you guys, it was great. This film had so much heart, so much compassion, so much passion, fan service. It really, really exceeded my expectations. I really loved this movie. I loved it more than the first one. And that has to do with the adults. The adults were so good, so believable. Bill Hader stole the show in this movie. He was perfect as Richie. He was funny. I just loved everything he brought to the table when we're talking Bill Hader as the adult version of Richie. Just really nailed it. I mean, James McAvoy is older Bill. Jessica Chastain, fantastic. Everybody from Mike to Ben, like, they were all so good. And the emotion throughout the entire film, the flashbacks from you know, the original, the first part, you know, to this, they all meshed well. So good. I will have to say, there was a certain scene where they go down into Ben's little hideout, and obviously, you know, I love the whole transitioning between, you know, the adults and then transitioning to like a flashback. Great stuff. But some of the CGI obviously was kind of spotty because they had to CGI the faces to make them look, you know, a little bit younger, obviously, because, you know, this film, the first one was filmed, what, 2.5 years ago? But no, 3 years ago when you really think about it, because going into post-production. So the kids are a lot older than what they are now, than what they were, you know what I mean? So the CGI and some of it, like especially Ben, his face was, it looked a little off to me. Richie, it looked a little off. Eddie kind of looked a little off to me as well. That's a little small nitpick I have about the film, and something towards the end, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, it was great, scary. Pennywise, Bill Skarsgård really nails it, delivers us an Oscar-worthy performance as Pennywise. I love the whole origin story of Pennywise and how Mike really did his research on this. Like, it was so cool to see, like the whole mythology of it. I was like, holy shit! Like, I was so intrigued. I was into it. You know, I really enjoyed that part of the film. It's crazy, like the whole, like the rituals, the cults, like that shit was. I was like, damn, okay, all right. Like it was so fun to watch. The suspense was great. Definitely had some great scares. The whole Henry Bowers scene where the balloon was underneath the bed. That scene got me, because old boy who was killed off in the first film, one of his best friends, was like a zombie damn near underneath the bed, driving this fool around. Like, that shit was creepy as hell. So creepy. And I just liked the story. I liked the way it started. It didn't feel slow. Once it got going, like it kept going. Hey, it's Mike. You need to come back to Derry. And like, boom, it picked up, and it just, the rhythm and flow to the film was great. Really good. 2 hours and 45 minutes. Didn't feel like 2 hours and 45 minutes. Felt like 2 hours long. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm happy. I'm happy how well this film was paced. What else? What else? Let's talk. Woo! Cameos. Cameos. Now, if you're a true fan, you've seen the cameos. Obviously, let's start off with the first one. The original kid, Ben Hansen, made a cameo. He was in the office when when the new Ben was introduced, you know, the adult version, and he was like Skyping him or whatnot. He was the guy standing up and he was talking. That was the kid who played Ben in the original film. I was like, holy shit, I did not expect that whatsoever. I was like, that is awesome. He still looks the same. He legit still looks the same. Stephen King, working at the old pawn shop. Loved his cameo. I mean, Stephen King. I was so happy he made an appearance in this film. That was a sight to see. And then obviously the director was in this film as well. He had a little cameo. He was in when Eddie had to go back and get his little his thing. He went back to that shop that he goes to get his prescription, right? And he was in the background, like just like looking at stuff on the shelf. I was like, okay, I like that. Like a little director's nod. I was like, all right, I appreciate that. But man, it was so intriguing. Like, I love the fact that like everybody like didn't remember. Like once you left Derry, everything was just gone. Like you didn't know what happened. 27 years, all just vanished from from your memory. But Mike stayed back, and I loved Mike's character a lot. I sympathized with him, staying back in Derry, not living your life, wasting 27 years of your life stuck in that town while everybody went off to go do their own lives. Like, I sympathized with the character, and I really enjoyed the adult version of Mike. Story-wise, the whole entire story was like, at least with the whole cult and the ritual or whatnot, they all had to remember a part of their past and get something that brought the past with them. Does that make sense? You get what I'm saying? They all needed something from what they couldn't remember with Pennywise, and I loved it. Like, everybody's story was so different. Everybody from Eddie, his shit with his mom, that shit was just crazy nasty. Bill, of course, Georgie, that was sad. Ben, whoo, man, that shit was creepy. When he was stuck in that locker, then Pennywise came out of nowhere, that shit was like, oh, God, no. But yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I really did. One of the nitpicky thing that I had towards the end was the whole, like, I get Pennywise being, that true shape, that form. I just found it kind of odd how when they were like down talking him, you're nothing, you're an imposter, you're a clown, and he was like, what? I am the eater of worlds. And he just got like small, like a little baby. I was like, okay, like, all right. I found that to be a little weird. I was like, I get it, but I don't know. That was one of my nitpicky things. Another nitpicky thing. Let's talk about, oh boy, Henry Bauer. What was his purpose in this film? Like, he came back, and I was like, all right. Like, they showed his little flashback scene. Got thrown out of the well and whatnot, and he was all right. Well, like, it was like cool, even though he fell and hit every single side of that well, and he still walked away okay. And then he gets arrested, and he goes to jail, and he's put in that insane asylum, and Pennywise helps him escape. Then he goes to the hotel that everybody's in, stabs Eddie in the mouth, gets stabbed, leaves, then goes after Mike, gets killed by Richie. I was like, what's your purpose? I was like, I could have lived without that entire Henry Bauer shit. But it's a continuation of his story, so I understand. But man, dude, some of the kills in this shit was crazy. The way this film started off, where it really set the pace for the film. Like, when those two gay guys got their asses kicked by those fucking douchebags and then thrown over, the bridge. my God. And Pennywise, like, found him. He was like, helped him up and then just took a chunk out of his side. Like, damn. And then the little girl with the birthmark on her cheek. That was so sad. I was like, oh my God, I feel for you. And then oh my God. What I really loved was Bill. And the reason why he had so much guilt for Georgie. He was fake pretending to be sick because he didn't want to go out on that rainy day and play with his little brother. If he didn't play that, Georgie would still be alive. And that is tremendous guilt. I loved it. And then the connection with the little boy, you know, when he found out, when he saw him, you know, first at the restaurant, you know, and then he saw him on the block and he was like grabbing him, like, you know, if you hear any voices, you run. Like, I loved that. And the guilt he felt, like, well, I have to save this kid. I have to make sure this kid doesn't end up like Georgie. Like, that was very impactful. Very, very much impactful. Kills were great. Pennywise was scary. All the adults were great. I love the whole flashback sequences. They worked really well. I love how they always transitioned. Stanley didn't make it back because he committed suicide. He was too afraid to come back. But then it served to a plot service at the end of the film when he wrote that letter to everybody. Like, it was so emotional. This film was very emotional, and I love that I felt that connection with it. You know what I mean? Like, I really enjoyed that aspect of the film. You know, being able to connect with these characters emotionally and understand what they're going through. They obviously they went through some traumatic shit as kids, and you know, they come back 27 years later and they start to remember, like, oh my God, this is what happened. But yeah, man, I definitely enjoyed it much more than the first one, I will have to say. I just did. And it's something about the adult cast that really drew me in more. Like, it drew me in, you know, much more. And I was like, I really appreciated this film. But yeah, man, It Chapter 2, you guys, definitely exceeded my expectations. Really enjoyed it. Some nitpicky things, but, you know, I'm not going to let that affect the film and how I feel about the film. I just because I had these nitpicky things doesn't mean I didn't love it. I love this film. It was so damn good. It was so good. Terrifying. Very terrifying. You know, even the ending, you know, the whole, like, the entire ending, like the whole battle scene and whatnot when they're getting down with Pennywise and shit. That shit was crazy. Like, he was like some big ass, like, freaking spider type ordeal. But it was good. I definitely think that, you know, Andy, whatever, I can't never say his last name, really, you can tell he worked hard on this film. You can tell he worked hard to deliver us a much better story than what the original adult second part brought to the table. Much more. But post your comments down below, you guys. Let me know what you guys think about It Chapter 2. Do you think it was better than the first one? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions on It Chapter 2? Post your comments down below, you guys. And thank you for taking time out of your day for watching CO Productions. Peace.